Hey guys, so this is the CR Touch Auto Bed Leveling Probe in action. Now, this tests different points on the bed to make sure that each of them is as level as possible. So it's not just leveling it in the center of the bed or in one spot, it's testing at multiple different places, as you see right here. Now, this is one of the more important upgrades you can get for the Ender 3 Pro. And we're going to show you how I installed this and how I set this up today. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut away to the part where I take this out of the box and how I screw it and bolt it onto the printer in just a bit. Now this is actually, I would recommend doing your bed upgrade first. You see here I have a glass bed, and if you do decide to upgrade to the glass bed, I'd recommend doing that first, or whatever bed you do upgrade to if you upgrade your bed. If you don't upgrade your bed, then fine, just do this one first. So there's that to consider. Now I installed this on my Ender 3 Pro, and I'm pretty happy with it. The prints have been coming out pretty well so far. And one of the things that's important to pay attention to is to get the correct firmware. So getting the right firmware is important. I tried a few different firmware versions that didn't work properly, and that's mostly because I didn't follow the instructions that came along with the probe. I didn't follow them carefully enough, and I thought I had a better idea of which version of the firmware to install, and it didn't work out right. Just pay attention to the instructions and install the correct version of the firmware, and it works great. So I fumbled around with that a little bit when I was testing this out. You're not going to see most of that in this video, so most of the mistakes and mess ups have been cut out. Now, the correct version of the firmware that I eventually installed was the Marlin version 1.1.2. So just make sure you follow the instructions and get that. Now, here we are looking at the box here. Now, we're going to show you what comes in the box. But yeah, and before I forget, yeah, basically with the firmware, you basically just place it on the SD card, pop the SD card into the printer, and start it up, and it's going to load the firmware for you. Now, yeah, this is basically what comes in the box. It comes with a little cable. It comes with now that cable is you're gonna have to run that to your system board. It comes with this bracket that can, I believe, be installed in different ways, but in any case, we'll show you how that gets installed here. Now, this is the CR Touch probe itself. So mostly plastic, but the actual metal probe part on the bottom is metal. And it lights up, which looks kind of neat, but doesn't give you any functional, it's not functional, but it does light up, and that's kind of like an added benefit if you care about that. Now, make sure you check the links in the description if you want to know where you can pick up the CR Touch probe, or this actual printer if you want to pick up the Ender 3 Pro, or if you want to pick up the glass bed. Just check the links in the description. All links to where you can pick those up on Amazon or wherever else, so check that out. And here we go. These are the cables that it comes with, and it comes with some zip ties and some bolts and screws. So the zip ties, you're going to want to zip tie it to some of the cables that are already there. Notice there's two different ends of the cable. One end goes to the CR Touch, and one is going to go to your system board. And you notice you have your two different types of bolts here. So you got your M3x8 and your other one there. Now you're going to start out with this. Take your bracket, and now it actually fits on here like this. Notice how the holes actually just fit together like that. Now you'll notice these other two holes match up right here, right on your printer. So that's where that's supposed to go. Now that large hole is supposed to make it so that you could still unbolt that other component on your printer there, so you can take that wheel off if you want to. It doesn't get in the way. But yeah, we are gonna remove that head, and we're gonna remove the bolts, and you'll see in just a sec. Now you're going to want to put them through the bottom here, like this. Line them up, and now we can connect it. And there we go. We got that connected together pretty tightly. Not too tight, but tight enough. So we're going to start out by taking these off. So yeah, a little bit easier with these tools. Check the link in the description if you want to know where you can pick these tools up. but this is a screwdriver from the iFixit toolkit. So that's so much easier than using the hex key that comes with the kit. Alright, so we're going to connect the smaller end of the cable. And just pop it in there like that. I actually ended up pushing on the end of it a little bit there. Kind of just push it into place with the screwdriver. Make sure it's nice and tight and snug. Now we can loop this over for now, but we're going to want to use zip ties to tie it in place. We're going to want to connect it to that other cable that's already there. So we got one zip tie in there. I'm going to turn this guy over. We're going to start removing this panel on the bottom. Note the screws are of different sizes, so make sure you remember which one went where. Now, there's another screw on the other side here too. You're going to need to take, I guess, both of these out. Let's see. Or at the very least, that one. Now, one other thing to be aware of is that the Z-axis probe is going to actually be removed too at some point. So while you have this open, you might want to remove that and unplug it from here. Otherwise, you're going to have to reopen this back up and remove it later. Anyways, I'm pointing out here, what I pointed out is the version of the board. See how it says 4.2.2? So that means this version of the board is compatible. Now, basically, you need you're going to need a 32-bit board, and the 4.2.2 version does happen to be a 32-bit board, and it is compatible with this probe. Now, down here is where we're going to plug this thing in. And just push that right in there. And there we go, as long as it's firmly connected. Nope, no good. And we're going to connect this back in place. However, the one thing I'm leaving out here is unplugging the cable for the Z-axis probe, which we won't need anymore. Adding the CR Touch probe, we won't need that Z switch anymore. So we're going to remove the Z switch, which means not just removing the Z switch, but unplugging it from the system board. So really, you're going to want to do that before you close this back up. Here, I'm closing it back up before I remember to do that, so I'm going to have to come back and fix it later. Which is not a big deal, but we'll show you how to do that later on in the video. We're going to make sure to do the other side as well. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, we are going to want to take out this this Z switch. So, or the Z stop or the Z switch, whatever you want to call it. We're going to want to remove this here. Basically, this switch is kind of redundant and not useful, and we actually don't want it there. Not only is it redundant, but we specifically don't want to have it there because it kind of duplicates what the CR Touch does for us. So remove it like that. Just remove those two bolts, and you'll see here this cable connecting to it goes down through a little hole there, down to where it connects to the system board that we were just looking at. So yeah, we're gonna have to open that right back up and unplug that. And we're going to save this thing for later. We're not going to throw this out or anything. Yeah, highly recommended to just hold on to that. I've heard of people using that for other projects and stuff. Or, you know, for all you know, you might just need to have a spare part to fix something. And it's so small, you may as well keep it. Anyways, here we are. I kind of skipped ahead to where I have it reopened again. And this is me unplugging that cable and kind of snaking it through. Yeah, so it's generally going to be recommended to bring this up to temperature before you actually configure it and set before you set the Z offset and everything else. So you're going to want to bring it up to temperature first, just to make sure your bed is going to heat up and everything else is going to heat up. So it can expand and contract with temperature. So you want to make sure it's at the normal temperature it would be at when you're actually printing things. So heat it up before you do any of that stuff. And here we're going to set the Z offset. Despite having the probe, we still want to make sure we get this Z offset set. So that it's basically, we want to get it so that that tip there is just barely touching the board, and that's going to be the offset. So it's not quite at a -1. So we can adjust this by millimeters or fractions of a millimeter. Now we're going to move this up a little bit, and the idea is you want to be able to slide a piece of paper under there, but you want the piece of paper to drag just a little bit, and that's going to be your perfect Z offset value. So you're going to set that, and then you're going to want to save the value in your using the menus in your firmware. Now see how that moves a little bit. And there we go. So yeah, with one hand I was moving the paper underneath, and the other hand I was adjusting this knob here. So we got a 1.2, so a -1.2. That is our Z offset. Now the menu here might be a little bit different. depending on your firmware and some other things. But basically just make sure you adjust it the way that I did. Just follow the same general premise that I did. And note here we're going to store the setting. So yeah, make sure you actually store the setting before exiting out. And we can tell it to level the bed, and you'll see here it's going to go through and take you all the same measurements. This is the exact same thing we saw it do at the beginning of the video. It's going to check the level at each of multiple different points along your board here, or along your bed here. Yeah, this is generally going to run before you do each print. Now, make sure you check the links in the description if you want to know where you can pick up the CR Touch probe or this actual printer, if you want to pick up the Ender 3 Pro, or if you want to pick up the glass bed. Just check the links in the description. I'll have links to where you can pick those up on Amazon or wherever else, so check that out. Go ahead and hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss out on our other great videos. We have a lot of great stuff we put out already, and we have a lot of stuff coming up soon. So definitely hit the subscribe button, and also hit the little bell icon. Otherwise, YouTube's not going to alert you when we come out with a new video, and you're not going to want to miss these. We put a lot of other great content out. This includes hardware, software, networking, servers, coding, electronics, single board computers, 3D printing, robots, and a ton more. Also, leave a comment down below, not just for me, but for the next person who watches this video. If you know something that I don't know, or you have any comments, questions, criticism, whatever you want to say, just leave the comment down below. Hopefully you found this video useful, or at least interesting. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.